Well, Australia's ownership of shares, it's among the highest in the world at an individual level. But our knowledge of markets is also enhanced by our superannuation system. But despite previous attempts to kickstart more ownership through employee share schemes, we remain among the lowest users of those schemes. A new survey about the use of employee share schemes around the world has been compiled by Global Equity Organisation, backed by a number of organisations, including law firms Arnold Bloch Leibler and Baker McKenzie, as well as the accounting giant KPMG. Shaun Cartoon is a partner with Arnold Bloch Leibler and joins me now from Melbourne. Shaun, many thanks for your time. While I've got you here, I can't help but ask you about the takeovers and mergers reform that the government is introducing. Of course, we spoke to Gina Cass-Gottlieb, the chair of the ACCC, just a short time ago. I know that your law firm did put in a submission in regards to mergers and takeovers.
Yes, our competition team strongly argued that the existing rules already work well and the overwhelming majority of deals are pro-competitive, and we would have some real concerns that these proposed reforms would unnecessarily delay deals and increase cost and increase deal risk, particularly for startups that are selling to larger players in the market.
One other thing also about this is, given the fact that takeover and merger legislation in this country right now is absolutely vital if we're to have a proper functioning economy, this is the reason why the decisions the government's making, the power it's giving the ACCC, is going to be vital to any future deals.
That's right. I mean, we're at a time where the economy and deal making is quite fragile. And I think these reforms look like regulatory overreach that may well stifle deal making at a time when the economy can least afford it.
All right, let's go to something else, and that is this report which has come out, which looks at share ownership and employee share schemes around the world. Why is it that Australia is in the bottom half of the pack when it comes to these types of schemes?
Well, I think, Ross, this report it's really the Olympics of employee share schemes, and the table is dominated by the advanced economies of Europe. Australia languishes very much in the middle of that table, and I think it's for a few reasons. Principally, our tax rules are tortuously complex. And a lot can go wrong there. Also, there have been regulatory constraints on businesses in scaling up their share plans to meet their ambitions. And also, I don't think historically there's been a cultural awareness of employee share schemes as there has been in the US and in those European countries.
Okay, so is the problem here one of government or is it one of businesses, do you think? That it's businesses not trying to encourage more employees to buy the shares, or is it that government is not giving the sort of incentives that will allow the schemes to be created for those employees?
Look, I think tax incentives are really important in employee share schemes, and they, in my experience, they predominate decisions around how these arrangements are designed for employees. So I think there's a lot of work that can be done by the government to further promote schemes, employee share schemes for public companies and for private companies.
So do you think there's also a situation in Australia where, because we have compulsory superannuation and people are well aware that they have those investments, which are theirs, inside those schemes, that might create a disincentive for people and employers to go and create a totally separate scheme?
No, I think what happens in superannuation is very different to what happens with employee share schemes. I do think that the government's decision to recalibrate the stage 3 tax cuts is actually going to further enhance employee share schemes, particularly in private markets, because the opportunity to structure a part of your remuneration in the form of shares or options that get the benefit of the CGT 50% discount is obviously more attractive if large number of employees are otherwise going to remain paying tax at 47%.
Okay, so Shaun, I can understand with, say, a public company, it's pretty straightforward to be able to create an employee share scheme if you want to. But when it comes to private companies, it becomes ever so much more difficult. The valuation of those companies, the issuing of equity to the employees, the pool. But there are some who do it, and they still manage somehow to create these types of schemes to share it with their employees. Where are the blockages here in Australia when you've experienced them?
I think some of the major blockages were on the regulatory side, and I think the former government solved many of those issues with some amendments to the Corps Act. I think that you're right, Ross. The lack of liquidity in private markets is a big factor, but most employee share schemes that are designed for private companies are actually designed as share option schemes, where the exercise of the options are generally linked with a liquidity event for the company, so that when the employees are there at a liquidity event and they can exercise, they can also benefit at that time from the sale event that's occurring.
Shaun Cartoon, good to have you on the program today. Maybe this can be the next move that the Treasurer, who seems adamant that he's going to have tax reform, maybe it's another area you can look at as well. Many thanks for your time today.
Let's hope so. Thanks, Ross.